Welcome to Two Humans Talking, the podcast that discusses the challenges of staying healthy in today's modern, fast paced world. I'm Tiffany Sims, your burnout recovery expert and holistic wellness coach. And today I am so excited to be here and be able to just introduce you to my friend, Jaylin Knight. She is such a gift, and she is a weight loss mindset coach who is all about mental fitness and not counting calories and just living your healthiest life. So, Jaylin, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to connect again.
Tell the people, where do you live? What do you do? Who are you?
I am in San Diego. I've been here for the last 13, 14 years. I absolutely love it. I've been doing a lot of physical fitness in terms of my career, so training the ladies, mostly bodies. And then in the last couple years, I really had a desire to start helping them more holistically. And so I trained as a mental fitness coach, and now I'm bringing that to my fitness ladies, and then all the ladies across the interwebs, and so that I can help you like finally feel great about your body and achieve any weight loss that you want. And really, mental fitness is about just living life more positively, no matter what's going on around you. And we apply that to the weight loss solution that you've been looking for.
So, dive in real quick a little bit. Mental fitness, it's not a phrase that a lot of people have heard of. So, like, if you were sharing with like a third grader and trying to explain to them what mental fitness is, like, what would you share with them?
Well, I do like talking to third graders. So just like physical fitness, where you lift weights and things to strengthen your body and build resistance and endurance, mental fitness is kind of doing the same thing for your mind. And so you do different, we call them PQ exercises, but they're different mindfulness ways to really strengthen your brain so that you build resilience and you actually train your brain to be more positive, and so that you can handle life situations from a positive mindset rather than coming from scarcity or that fight or flight, stressed out survival zone.
Oh, I love that so much. That's such, like you said, like it just needs to be practiced and exercised like any other muscle. And it's just so vital. I know for me, like being able to shift the way that I come to challenges, my approach coming into a challenge
Hmm.
has changed the outcome of everything
100%.
about my life. And so I love that so much. So, Jaylin, I'm curious, what does healthy mean to you at this stage of life?
So at this stage, healthy is being able to do the things that make you happy, right? Feeling good enough, whether it's physically, mentally, to do the things that you want to do.
Very cool. Is that different than how you would have defined healthy
Completely.
before?
When
What
I
was
first got
healthy
into this,
before?
when I first cared about getting healthy or exercising, it was all about looks. It's all only thing that mattered. Like I did not care about energy, longevity, none of that. And I will tell you that I was 100% backwards.
So what changed for you? Because I think a lot of us start that way, like growing
Mhm.
up through middle school, through high school, college, our early 20s, like healthy is looking a certain way and being able to squat a certain amount of weight or things like that.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there, for most of us, it happens in our 30s and 40s. There's like this transition piece.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious about that journey for you.
I think for me, when it came to looks being the number one priority, I was constantly chasing happiness. Like I was constantly couldn't be happy until I looked a certain way, could never look that certain way because I wasn't happy. So it was hard to get to that point. And so it was just this constant, just sort of chasing my tail. And I finally got frustrated with that enough to try something different, like care about my happiness and my health first. And then once I made that shift and put my happiness first, then the rest of the things fell into line.
It's so cool. And it's so ironic that we're recording this episode today because yesterday, I walked into the grocery store in my own little world, like happy as can be, not thinking about if my clothes, how my clothes fit or how I look to other people. I was just existing in the world. And caught a glimpse of myself in the grocery store window as I was walking in, and all of a sudden I just started crying and I was like, Tiffany, why are we crying? But it was because I saw 39-year-old Tiff wearing a crop top turtleneck sweater with some high-waisted boyfriend cut jeans and some like Converse style tennies without a care in the world. And even 3 years ago for me, I would have never walked out of the house in that outfit because even when I was like right now, I am a very solid size 12 and I am very whole, like happy for me. But even when I was a size 8 and the fittest I had ever been, running all the miles, doing all the CrossFit, like taking all the bikini photos because I kind of felt like I finally could, I still wouldn't have walked out of the house in that outfit because I didn't look the way I thought someone was supposed to look wearing those clothes. I didn't think they were for me. And now that my focus has shifted to how do I feel? I knew yesterday, I was so proud because I was like, I went for a mile and a half run yesterday because I could, not because I needed to wear certain pants or because I was looking at the scale, but because I could. And I like eat foods that make me feel good instead of the ones that, and if they make me feel sluggish or make my tummy hurt, like I typically tend to stay away from them. And all of that just came together in this just beautiful moment as I was like pushing the cart into the grocery store yesterday. And so I love that we're talking about this right now because that was just so real for me,
Yeah, what a special moment.
right? And you're just like, wow, like none of those metrics mattered when I was, because even though I was fit and healthy, I wasn't mentally healthy.
Hmm.
I wasn't present. I was obsessed with whatever the method of food tracking I was doing was. And so I just love that we're having this conversation today. It just feels so like almost healing for me. Like, yes.
Nice. Well, that was the reason you started this podcast, wasn't it?
It was. It really was. It was like we need to talk about these things because it can be taboo to talk about it, especially in the like everyone's body's beautiful and you just need to love yourself the way you are. And I think that sometimes in that, while that's great, we've gotten away from like, what does healthy really mean? Because being 300 pounds, you can love yourself, but are you really healthy? And the same can be said for someone who's a size 2 weighing 110. Like, okay, you look great, but are you really healthy? And so, like, what does healthy really mean? And how
Yeah,
do you do that?
that reminds me, I was listening to something and they were talking about how sometimes people get a little bit, I don't know, confused or they think of things a certain way, like, well, I'm going to take care of myself and be healthy and do things that make me feel good, make me happy. And so I'm going to treat myself to this snack or this thing or laying on the couch or whatever. And the way that people put it in perspective was very much like, how do you raise a kid? Like, do you let the kid just do anything they want, or do you guide the kid to do things that you know are really, really good for them? Even if they don't super duper want to do it in that moment, like, it's going to be in their best interest. So in that respect, sort of relating that to ourselves, right? Like self-love and taking care of ourselves and showing care to ourselves isn't the same as just letting it all go and be like, I love it. Like, because I mean,
This
it's
is great. I can't tie my shoes.
right. Like I can't make it up the stairs, but I'm totally happy. Maybe you are. I don't know, but I know for a lot of those people, I know many people have come to me telling me that they're not happy with the situations that they're in, like when they can't tie their shoes, when they can't get upstairs, when they can't like walk around the block without heavy breathing because they've let themselves go, whether it's a weight issue or just a health issue, that they're not happy about it. They want to be able to do those things. And at that point, I feel like just, saying and treating myself and self-loving by doing these things that ultimately aren't helping you do the things that you tell me you want to do. There's a disconnect there.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head. And for me, that's the difference between the old school healthy mentality that I had and like how I approach life now, which is this going to help? Like, what do I actually knowing actually what I want out of life and how I want to experience my day, and then my choices throughout the day either support that or it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think of it, I call it like making boats, but I think of it a lot like hash marks. And like, okay, am I doing this? Is that a hash mark in the direction I want to go in? Or is that a hash mark in the direction I don't want to go in? Right. And so I'm just piling up my hash marks over here. 4 or 5.
I That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm a big sticker person. Like I reward myself with stickers quite often.
This, as you should.
I am sticker motivated. I blame my mom when I was a kid.
You had a
If
sticker
I
chart?
got if I got 100 on my spelling test every week that I got 100, we got to go to the dollar store and I got to pick out a whole pack of stickers.
You get the
And
scratch and sniff ones. We used to
oh my
do
God,
that.
all of them and the puffy ones and like all of it.
Oh, the
And
puffy
so
ones. I forgot about those.
yes, and you just said scratch and sniff, and then it made me think of like all the Ninja Turtle stickers I had that smelled like artificial pizza.
I could just imagine you smelling those now and be like, what the? No, thank you.
Like, but I anyway, I reward myself with stickers, and so you thinking like, all right, yeah, there's another tick mark. Yes, I'm knocking it off. I'm like, I got a whole sticker page. Oh, now were you always like that? Have you always been like metric oriented, check it off kind of person, or did that develop as you started developing your mental fitness?
I think it was a transition. I think I've been more marker oriented. The things that I mark have 100% transitioned. But I think I've definitely gotten more organized. I've gotten more into my non-negotiables than before. I would just, kind of go balls to the wall or slack off because I was exhausted because I went balls to the wall. Whereas now I'm like, I love having I refer to it a little bit as boring, like from the outside view. I like it, but I'm very, very consistent. I kind of do the same things day in, day out, week after week. And it makes me very, very happy. And like, I know what to expect from my life. And that all works really, really well for me. In terms of explaining that to somebody else, I semi joke about it, but like, it probably looks a little bit boring to somebody else. But like for me, it's fantastic. I love it.
But is it boring, or are you just using the way your body was designed to your advantage? Because our bodies were designed to be streamlined and to figure out how to do things on autopilot to conserve energy for when we needed it. And so you being on autopilot, quote unquote, and in your routine doesn't sound boring. That sounds optimized to me.
I like that perspective. And you're so right. We talk about brains all the time and how much we relegate to our habit brain. And like that can really work for us or work against us, right? Because the things that we do all the time, whether they're positive or negative, go right into the habit brain. And then once they're there, that's much harder to change them because we're just not really aware of what we're doing all the time. So I have very deliberately built a lot of healthy habits a little bit at a time. But I've practiced them very consistently so that they're in there, and that's how my lifestyle goes now.
Yeah.
And for sure, it makes it way easier.
And then it makes like those special moments special because they are unique experiences rather than just like the haphazard all day stuff. But like you were just mentioning, like the habit brain, the reason, in my personal opinion, and in the research that I have personally conducted, um, the reason so many people, especially in a weight loss journey, once they reach a goal and they end up going right back to the person they were before, because they weren't changing their habits, they were just forcing themselves to be disciplined for a specific reason. And so, like, those habits never got changed in like at the core of their being for it to
Yeah.
become their new identity.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you help people? Like, what's your method now for when you're like, all right, this habit needs to shift. We need to create a new habit to become like our core habit. Like, what's your approach to that now?
So a couple of things. So one, we start before talking habits at all. We just really go into who you really are. And so in the mental fitness world, there's actually a systematic framework developed by positive intelligence that breaks it down into your saboteurs or your sage. And it's kind of your survival mind is where your saboteurs live. And so that's all of your judgments and any victim modes and your hyperachievers and like all these extra like should and shouldn't negative emotions that can drive you, but also sabotage you quite often. And so we really look into like which ones are working against you. And everybody has them. We're born with them. And then they develop different strengths throughout your experiences in life. And then we teach you how to quiet those and build into your sage, which is your inner wisdoms, your intuitions, who you really, really are. It's where all your positivity, curiosity, creativity, everything where that lives. And it's literally neuroscience where we are shifting and changing and rewiring your brain so that you are acting more out of your sage than letting these saboteurs run you. So that's where we start. We go to the root, like find out
That's really
what
cool.
drives you.
I've never heard the term sage before. Like, I mean, I have sage. Sometimes I burn
In the
it and
kitchen.
clean my house with it. But like, I've never heard it in terms of like this, your saboteurs and your sage. And I kind of really like that metaphor
Yeah.
of the differences between the two. That's really,
Yeah, it's so great. Shirzad Chamine, he's the founder of Positive Intelligence. And so they've conducted all sorts of research. He's a professor at Stanford, and they've done over 500,000 people and tons of C-suite executives and executive teams to figure out what's driving people. And so they've narrowed it down to 10 saboteurs. And so people usually have like two or three of them that really get them. And then, of course, everybody has that inner judge, that critic that's constantly telling you that you're not good enough, you didn't do that right, and all those fun things. But it's totally natural to have them. We all have them. We can very much quiet them and not let them run our minds. And then as you quiet them, then you also give access to finding that inner wisdom, which they label as sage, which I've grew up with. I don't know, grew up, but I've known the word sage for a while. I always think of it as guru. Like I just think like somebody kind of like sitting there in like lotus pose and just very, very wise. So I identify with that idea very much. And so I enjoy getting into that. But it really, really helps us just connect with our intuition, which is, so powerful in so many areas of life. But especially when you're trying to change habits and food and things like that, to like understand what your body and what you really, really need, then that just it makes the habit change so much easier when you're going from that route.
yeah, I know that from my experiences, like when you come from learning to listen to your gut and your intuition and trying to tune back into your body, like it does make everything easier because you know that there's no right or wrong answer. You just become really curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's so much wisdom to be learned and so much joy to be found in just being curious.
Yes. Yeah, and this practice has taught me a lot because I found I wasn't very curious. I would about myself. I would snap to a judgment very fast, like, "Oh, it's this. It must be with this." Whereas now I've lowered that judge. I don't that doesn't have as much power over me anymore. Find the curiosity. I'm like, "Oh, maybe this is happening. Maybe it could be this. It could be that." And just giving yourself the space to do that broadens your mind to so many other possibilities. And so many of those feel a lot better than that snap judgment.
I hadn't really thought of this analogy before until just now while we were talking. And when I think of like little kids, they're so full of joy and fun and play. And if you really peel that back, it's because they are entering the world just curious little beings because everything's new to them. And
Yeah.
so they're just exploring and
Yeah.
playing and finding out, like, oh, I shouldn't put my hand there because that hurt. Or like when this happens, I really think that's fun. And so, like, there's no failing for them. They just keep trying. And so I think that if more people could take that approach to whatever it is that they're trying to achieve, like, all right, how can I get really curious about this where failure really isn't an option because it's not even on the table.
Yeah.
Like I really am just learning and everything's a data point for my next decision. Like I feel like so many more people would be fulfilled in achieving their goals.
Yes, I agree with that. You just remind me of this cute little segue story, but the toddler that I take care of on Fridays generally, we one of the things we go to Costco, get our shopping done on Fridays, and we just have the most fun doing this very silly thing. My husband's name is Angel, and Ronan's the toddler, and so they're pushing the cart, and Ronan's just like, "What's that, Angel?" And Angel tells him whatever's like, "That's storage." "What's that?" "That's laundry." And everything Ronan repeats back. And he's like super excited, like, "Laundry? Awesome."
Whoa!
"Bananas? Fantastic." But they go through the entire Costco every single week. What's that, Angel? And then he learns a new word. And like, and then he learns it, right? So then we're coming the next time. He's like, Angel, that's laundry. Angel, that's storage. Just this little two are just picking up random things that are sold at Costco, but they have them like eyes wide open. Like it's just so exciting for him.
And even just like, I love that because even just us talking right now, would anyone have known that we started this thing knowing that you're a weight loss mindset coach, that I'm a holistic weight loss coach focused on high performance? Like, no, like we're just two humans having a conversation about how we approach life. And it's how you and I both approach our well-being. It's how we approach our businesses. It's how we approach interacting with other humans, is just like being curious and figuring out what works for us
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
and then learning from that. Like you and I were talking before we hit record about different things that we're doing in our businesses and just chatting about what has worked, what wasn't working, like what's working for you. And all of that comes back to like just being curious.
Yeah.
Done. We're done. Just like that's it. That's the solution. Be curious.
Being
Learn and
curious is
learn from
it's
it.
really changed a lot for me, and it's made it possible for me to like I've wanted to become a coach for so long, and I scared myself out of it, like of kind of starting over a new business. Like I was already in a business that was working for me, and so I was like, do I really want to take all that on? And like it feels really hard, and I have to put myself out there and like to learn new things. Like who wants to do that? And then I like found this extra space and started strengthening my mental fitness and got more curious and got less judgmental. And I was like, oh, I absolutely am doing this. Like I've been wanting to do this. I'm doing this. It's happening and I'm loving it. I'm so happy that I'm here.
Oh, so good. So, if someone who's listening to us right now is thinking, okay, this is really great in an area that I'm trying to improve in my life right now, is my relationship with food, because I am not healthy right now and I need to find my way to healthy. How do I do that without getting overwhelmed? Like, where would you have that person start? Like, what advice do you have?
And so there are lots of ways to get started. So I do think it can be more challenging to ramp up on your own. If you're starting at zero, like getting onto that first step can feel so gigantic. And that's where it's really helpful to have some extra support. But my overall advice is to very much take baby steps because you really just have to get, wow, pardon, you just have to get past zero and then it keeps compounding, right? So whether you decide to start walking or you decide to start adding vegetables, but do something and make it easy enough that you can do it. It's when we put all this pressure on to like change everything, right? And a lot of times we do that because we want it done now. Like, so many people are like, weight loss is so hard, sucks so bad, I want it done. But
I'll do whatever it takes because I can't live another day in this body.
yeah, for a week. And then I can't do whatever it takes because that's insane or it's
Because
just
this is
too hard.
exhausting.
It's too hard. And so it's very much about finding out what feels easy enough for you to do right now and then do that. And trust that that is moving you in the right direction, right? It's all about the hash marks or the stickers, right? Like every little sticker and hash mark that you make is moving you in the right direction. And as long as you keep moving in the right direction, you will get there. But when you're trying to do all the things, you stop moving. Like it's too hard to do all the things. You can't do, yeah, jumping into that, I'd never recommend that.
That is so good. And it comes down to like sometimes learning new things and reprogramming your habits is uncomfortable. And so like you got to know it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to stumble because you're going to have to learn some things and learn how to redo some things you've been doing a different way for a really long time. But then also like giving yourself enough of a push to get some momentum under you so that that can carry you, but not trying to go so far out the gate that you went too fast that it's now you can't keep up because it was too hard and now your injuries. I have this in my head right now as I'm rambling. Like I have the analogy of like running. Like yesterday, another really real example. yesterday I went out for a run and like I left the porch and I was like gone. And I was like, man, look at me booking. Like this feels good. I feel like I'm in this stride. It doesn't feel hard. And I'm definitely going faster than I was the other day. But I got home a minute slower because I had gone out too fast, too hard, that my body couldn't sustain it. So then it was slowing me down, and I could start feeling a little bit of the knee pull and a little bit of pain in my shins. And it was like that reminder of finding the balance in the discomfort versus going too fast and figuring out where that momentum is. And I think weight loss and changing your habits as far as like how you eat and how you move your body is the same way. It's like
Yeah.
finding that balance
Yeah.
to not go too far too fast and get really good at the one thing you're working on.
Yeah. I know one of the things that I would do over if I was starting again is that I felt so much that I can do this on my own. I can totally do this. And as I learned the hard way. It was tough. It was long going. I wasted a lot of time and a lot of emotional turmoil. Whereas just having a little extra support to like again guide me into a pace that I could manage would have gone such a long way versus constantly stopping and starting over and then beating myself up because I didn't do it right. And
And then trying a new way because the old way obviously wasn't working. And like,
yeah,
I could not agree more.
yeah.
If I could go back, I think the same thing. Like, if I could be the me for myself, like the me I am now for myself back then, I would have hired her in an instant because it took me 10, 15 years of figuring it out on trial and error. And a lot of it comes down to just being able to hold space for it to be messy
Hmm.
and not relying on if the scale is moving in a downward trend or not, but are you establishing habits that make you feel alive, that you can sustain without like all that mental energy that
Hmm.
gets consumed when we're in weight loss mode.
Yeah.
Like, and then to have had someone let me know that my struggles were normal and a part of the process and to just stick with it rather than the like, I don't know if you experienced this, but like I know there's certain times in my life where people are trying to make you feel better. And so it's like, oh, you shouldn't worry about that. It's not a big deal. Stop trying. Like it's not sustainable. You should just like don't worry about it. You're beating yourself up over nothing. And there's like a fine line between like helping someone practice grace and then helping them sabotage themselves.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think having someone who's been there, done that, and helps people overcome those obstacles is really important too, because you hire them to be in your corner. So they're gonna give you the tough love when you need it, but also you get to trust them when they say, no, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be this week. This is what it looks like
Hmm.
behind the scenes.
Hmm. Give you more realistic expectation of what's going on so that you don't have to go crazy, both the thoughts that you're already in your head and then all the other influences around you. Like, I mean, most of this country is unhealthy, which means that a lot of us probably have a lot of people influencing us or that have the power to influence us, whether we're letting them or not, but to make unhealthy choices,
Hmm.
right? That's far greater than the people that are making healthy choices right now. And so, yeah, you're right. If you're trying to do something and you're already having trouble and then somebody else is going to influence you out of what it is that you're trying to do, that's not so helpful.
Right. And how amazing would it have been to have had someone in your pocket to talk about how to handle people through your journey. Like,
Yeah.
my partner doesn't want to change how they're eating. What do I do about that? Or my mother-in-law says this, or the holidays are coming and like I just want to exist and I don't like how do I do that? Like I because you're damn when someone knows that you're focused on getting healthy, you are damned if you do and you're damned if you don't because it's like, "Oh, live a little. Don't worry about it. Holiday foods, they don't count. And then if you do eat it, it's like, I thought you were worried about your health. And it's like, I'm just a human who's experiencing life. Like, and so to have a coach or someone in your corner to help you navigate that, I think is priceless.
I would agree. Yeah, because it can get tricky out there for sure. And it doesn't have to be, but it's you need that voice of reason, right? And sometimes it's hard to give yourself that voice of reason.
Yeah. And that's where like the mental fitness part comes in, is strengthening your mind to be
Hmm.
able to handle the ups and downs without it changing who you are as a person.
Yeah. And the mental fitness is also so helpful for with the relationships, as you said, just handling other people about one, just getting a little bit more curious about where they're coming from. And then another big piece we talk about is empathy, both self empathy and empathy for others. And just but it's a self empathy that people really, really have trouble building up. But when you have the empathy for yourself, then it's easier for you to navigate when maybe you didn't follow through with what you said you were going to do, or maybe somebody wants you to do something that you don't want to do, and now you have to tell them no and to hold your boundaries, and for you to recognize that you absolutely deserve that. And those are the things that we're working on all the time.
I love that. So, a lot of listeners right now are feeling new year, new me, like, and are trying to make habit changes that will stick. And so, do you have like a PQ that we could learn right now before we wrap up for today?
Absolutely. So
Yay!
so one of the beautiful things about PQ reps is that they're so versatile. You can do them anytime, anywhere. And it's really just about getting hyper focused in any one of your five senses. And the whole purpose of doing PQ reps is it's taking you out of your thoughts and into your body. So whatever thoughts are just running crazy, which are generally, I keep using the word crazy, but that are just overrunning your mind. Um, most of our thoughts are negative. Most people, most thoughts are negative. So taking a break from those thoughts just can do wonders for you. And these are things you do want to build up, but we're going to do it right now. So 10 seconds. We are going to do a tactile one. So I'm just going to have you bring your hands together and just very softly, I'm going to have you rub from one palm to the other. And I just want all your focus into what you're feeling through your hands. Right. So you're just going to breathe through that. And generally, like 2 or 3 breaths, that's 10 seconds. And that's a PQ rep. And they've done enough research that they can see on functional MRI machines how this is affecting your brain. And it's literally quieting down the areas of your brain that are in fight or flight mode, so that survival mode, and amplifying the areas of your brain that are peace, calm, serenity. So you can do this anytime. I do this. I I get nervous being on podcasts. So I was doing it underneath the table, like just a little chill.
Loki
Yeah.
over there just
Yeah.
rubbing
It's just
palms.
it's like all the benefits of meditation without having to sit and be quiet for 15 minutes, which people have trouble doing. Right. So you can do this like little tiny pieces. I instruct my people to do it when they're driving, like feel the steering wheel. Like, oh my goodness, we've become so much more calm. The roads can still get crazy, but we're more calm drivers now. But like just really feeling into your steering wheel and just paying attention to those senses.
Yeah, it really brings you back into your body.
Hmm.
Loved that.
And then when you're doing that, like any thoughts that were going through your head, like just not aware of it at that moment. And then you get a little bit of space, and then you can go back and decide what you want to focus your thoughts on.
That is such a great tool. Highly recommend that if you didn't just do that, to go and do that, because I just feel more centered
Love
in
that.
this moment. And so, Jaylin, how do people connect with you? How do they stay connected? How do they find you in this world?
So I am most active on Instagram right now. And so it's at I am Jaylin Knight. And I just wrote a master class that I will be sharing soon. And if you guys want to get access to that, you can DM me the word human. So I know you're coming from this podcast, and I will hook you up right away. It is about how to lose 20 pounds without counting calories.
Heck yeah. That's sustainable living right there. I love it. So, was there anything that maybe you wanted to share today that we didn't talk about, or any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with today?
I feel like we covered a lot of bases, but I'm super happy to be here with you guys and to speak with your audience. And if there's any way that I can help anyone, feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I will drop all her info in the show notes, so go check her out. She is such a great human being, someone that you definitely want in your feed. And with that, Jaylin, thanks for being here. That's Two Humans Talking. Bye bye.
Thanks so much.